Richard Pemberton stood frozen in the doorway of his mansion's dining room, watching something that made his blood run cold. His daughter Emma, barely 3 years old, sat at the grand mahogany table, happily chewing on a piece of bread that their new maid Catherine was feeding her. "What on earth are you doing?" Richard's voice cut through the peaceful moment like a knife. Catherine turned, her gentle hand still extended toward little Emma. The young woman in her pale blue uniform looked confused by his anger. "Sir, I was just giving Emma her afternoon snack." She said she was hungry. Richard strode into the room, his expensive shoes clicking against the marble floor. "Bread? You fed my daughter common bread." He snatched the remaining piece from Emma's plate and held it up as if it were poison. "Do you have any idea what we pay the private chef for? Emma eats organic meals prepared by professionals, not this grocery store nonsense." Catherine's face flushed, but she kept her voice steady. "Mr. Pemberton, with respect, it's just bread. Children need simple foods, too." "Simple foods?" Richard's laugh was bitter. "My daughter is not a simple child. Her mother died bringing her into this world. Emma is all I have left of Victoria. She deserves only the finest of everything." Little Emma looked between them, her blue eyes wide and uncertain. A crumb still clung to her pink dress. Catherine knelt down beside the child, speaking softly. "The bread is good, isn't Emma?" The little girl nodded, then looked at her father with worry. Richard felt something twist in his chest, but pushed it away. For 2 years since Victoria's death, he had built walls around his heart. The only thing he allowed himself to feel was the fierce need to protect Emma, to give her everything money could buy. "Catherine, you're new here, so I'll explain this once. Emma has special nutritional requirements. Nothing goes into her mouth unless it's been approved by her pediatrician and prepared by our chef. Is that understood?" "Yes, sir," Catherine said quietly, but something in her eyes suggested she didn't agree. The days passed, and Richard watched Catherine carefully. He had hired her 3 weeks ago when the previous nanny quit, unable to handle his demanding standards. Catherine came with excellent references, but Richard remained suspicious. She was too warm, too natural with Emma. She sang silly songs while brushing the child's hair. She laughed freely when Emma made up stories about her stuffed animals. She treated his daughter like a normal child instead of the precious, fragile treasure she was. It irritated him beyond measure. One evening, Richard came home early from his office downtown. The house was unusually quiet. He found Catherine and Emma in the library, sitting on the floor surrounded by picture books. Emma was leaning against Catherine's shoulder, listening intently as the maid read aloud. And the little rabbit found his way home, where his mother was waiting with a warm hug and fresh carrots for dinner. Emma clapped her small hands together. "Read it again, Catherine. Please." "All right. One more time," Catherine smiled, opening the book to the first page again. Richard cleared his throat, and both looked up. "Emma, it's past your bedtime." "But, Daddy," "Catherine is reading to me. Your nanny can read to you tomorrow. Go upstairs now." Emma's face fell, but she knew better than to argue with her father. She hugged Catherine quickly and trudged toward the stairs. After the child was gone, Richard turned to Catherine. "We have a library full of educational materials. Why are you wasting time with silly rabbit stories?" Catherine stood up, meeting his gaze directly. "Stories aren't a waste, Mr. Pemberton. They help children learn about emotions and build imagination. My daughter doesn't need imagination. She needs preparation for the real world. She's 3 years old." "Exactly. These early years are crucial for development." Catherine picked up the books carefully, her jaw tight. "With respect, sir, Emma is developing just fine, but she's also lonely. She needs more than expensive toys and strict schedules." "You've been here 3 weeks," Richard said coldly. "Don't presume to tell me what my daughter needs." He walked away before Catherine could respond, but her words stayed with him. That night, Richard stood outside Emma's bedroom door, listening to her talk to her stuffed animals. "Don't be sad, Mr. Bear. Daddy loves us. He's just busy. Catherine says he has a hurting heart because Mommy is in heaven." Richard's hand froze on the doorknob. The next morning, Richard found Emma in the kitchen looking pale. She barely touched her chef-prepared breakfast of organic oatmeal and fresh berries. Not hungry, sweetheart. Emma shook her head, her small face unusually quiet. By afternoon, Emma had a fever. Richard called Dr. Morrison immediately. The pediatrician arrived within the hour, examining Emma thoroughly while Richard paced outside the bedroom. It's just a virus, Dr. Morrison said finally. Common in young children. Rest and fluids. She'll be fine in a few days. But Emma wasn't fine. The fever climbed higher. Emma grew weaker, barely able to lift her head from the pillow. Richard brought in specialists from the best hospitals. They ran tests, prescribed medications, offered theories. Nothing helped. On the fourth night, Richard sat beside Emma's bed, holding her tiny hot hand. Her breathing was shallow and her skin had taken on a frightening pallor. Please, he whispered to no one in particular. Please don't take her too. I can't lose her. She's all I have. Catherine appeared in the doorway, carrying a tray. Mr. Pemberton, you should eat something. I'm not hungry. You've been here for 18 hours. You need rest. I'm not leaving her. Catherine set down the tray and came closer, looking at Emma with genuine concern. The doctors say there's nothing more they can do. Richard's voice cracked. They say we just have to wait and hope. Then we'll wait together. Catherine said simply. She pulled up another chair and sat down. For hours they kept vigil in silence, taking turns placing cool cloths on Emma's burning forehead. As dawn light began creeping through the curtains, Catherine spoke softly. My grandmother used to say that sometimes sickness comes when the body and soul are out of balance. Richard looked at her with exhausted eyes. What does that mean? It means that medicine treats the body, but we also need to care for the heart. She stood up and moved closer to Emma's bed. Emma, sweetheart, can you hear me? It's Catherine. The little girl's eyes fluttered but didn't open. Catherine began to sing, her voice gentle and clear. It was a simple lullaby, the kind Richard's own mother had sung to him decades ago, the kind Victoria had hummed while pregnant with Emma. Something in Richard's chest broke open. My wife sang that, he whispered. I know, Catherine said. Emma taught it to me. She said her mommy used to sing it. Catherine kept singing, stroking Emma's hair with infinite tenderness. And slowly, incredibly, Emma's breathing began to deepen. The terrible pallor started to fade from her cheeks. By afternoon, the fever had broken. Dr. Morrison called it a miracle. Richard called it impossible. But Catherine just smiled and kept singing. Over the following weeks, as Emma recovered her strength, Richard watched Catherine with new eyes. He saw how the maid made Emma laugh with silly faces during meals. How she encouraged the child to try new things without forcing her. How she listened patiently to Emma's endless questions about why the sky was blue and where clouds went at night. He saw that Catherine gave Emma something he had forgotten how to give, simple human warmth. One evening, Richard found them in the garden. Catherine had Emma on her lap, pointing out constellations in the darkening sky. That's the Big Dipper, Catherine explained. See how it looks like a giant spoon? Like the spoon you use for soup. Emma giggled. Exactly like that. Richard approached quietly. May I join you? Both looked surprised, but Catherine smiled and nodded. Richard sat down on the grass beside them, not caring about his expensive suit. Tell me about the stars, Emma. His daughter's face lit up, and she began chattering excitedly, pointing out everything Catherine had taught her. Later, after Emma was in bed, Richard found Catherine in the kitchen preparing her own simple dinner. Thank you, he said. For what, sir? For saving my daughter's life. Catherine shook her head. The doctors saved her life. I just reminded her that she was loved. It's more than that. Richard sat down at the kitchen table, a place he never sat. You gave her something I couldn't. Joy. Normalcy. You saw her as a child who needed comfort, not a fragile treasure to be protected. He looked down at his hands. After Victoria died, I was so afraid of losing Emma too. I thought if I could control everything, keep her in a perfect bubble, she'd be safe. But I was wrong. I was suffocating her. Catherine sat down across from him. You were grieving, Mr. Pemberton. Fear comes from love. Maybe, but I forgot that Emma was grieving too. She lost her mother, and in my fear, she was losing her father as well. Richard's voice grew thick, with emotion. When she was sick and I thought I might lose her, I realized that all the money, all the control, all the perfect things I gave her meant nothing. What she needed was someone to hold her, sing to her, love her simply and freely. The way you do, the way you can too, Catherine said gently. That night, Richard went to Emma's room. She was still awake, playing quietly with her stuffed rabbit. Daddy, are you okay? He sat on her bed and pulled her into his arms. I'm okay now, sweetheart. I'm sorry I've been so strict and distant. I thought I was protecting you, but really I was just scared. Emma hugged him tight. Catherine says it's okay to be scared sometimes. Catherine is very wise, Richard smiled. Will you forgive your old dad for being foolish? You're not old, Daddy. Emma giggled. From that day forward, things changed in the Pemberton house. Richard started coming home earlier. He joined Emma and Catherine for simple dinners where they talked and laughed. He read bedtime stories with silly voices that made Emma shriek with delight. He learned that love wasn't about perfection or control. It was about presence and warmth and allowing joy to exist even alongside grief. And Catherine, the young maid who had seen what his daughter truly needed, became family in a way that matters most. Not through blood, but through the courage to care deeply and love freely. Years later, Emma would remember those days not as a time she was sick, but as a time her father learned to sing again. Did you enjoy the story? Please share, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales that remind us what truly matters in life. Leave a comment below telling us about a time when someone's simple kindness changed everything for you.